Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon. You obviously know the name Steve Bannon, I'm sure. Trump's former advisor. Now, Steve Bannon, of course, Steve Bannon is a con man. He's a scam artist. You all know that. Talked about it many times. Pretty obvious. Now, before I continue with that, just keep in mind where Steve Bannon came from. Steve Bannon is from Breitbart News. And you might want to look into that because, of course, Breitbart is it's part of the whole alt-right movement, right? But Breitbart is from Israel. That's right. Breitbart, in case you didn't know this, it's pretty much common knowledge. It's from Israel. So think about that for a second. You can ponder upon that, given their political slant and what they might be trying to do. I can't talk about this on ScanTube because if you reveal the truth, it's inconvenient for a certain group of people that run everything in the world. You're racist, and you're going to get removed. So Steve Bannon chummed up with this guy known as Miles Kwok. You might recall Miles Kwok. You may have heard of the guy. I actually exposed Miles many years ago, and I knew he was a scammer. I knew there was something that didn't make sense. Because why? Folks, it's what I've been saying all along. You must identify one of the con men, one of the point men. Once you identify one of the scammers, one of the con artists, all you have to do is see who they hang around with, and you're going to identify the whole group. Okay? It's quite simple. So let me give you a little refresher on some of Bannon's activities prior to teaming up with Kwok. We'll get to Kwok here shortly. You might recall, because I exposed, I was probably the first person in the world to expose this, and I may have actually caused the Justice Department, I may have prompted them to start a case, an investigation against Steve Bannon and a man by the name of Brian Kolfage. Brian Kolfage. You all remember Build the Wall? Build the Wall, yeah! Well, Brian Kolfage was the double amputee war veteran who started a GoFraudMe posting. And I talked about GoFundMe. It's a complete fraud. Should be shut down. But you all know who runs GoFundMe. The same group of parasites that run all these scams. So they're not going to be shut down. Okay? They're not going to be shut down. It's a criminal mafia we're talking about. I'm not going to get into that. But, and by the way, anybody of any credibility, if you're credible, you want to debate me on this stuff, I've got the facts. I'll debate you for money. You see, because it's not about flapping your mouth. You put your money where your fucking mouth is, or shut the fuck up. If you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is, what you have to say is meaningless. It's fake news. Okay? So let me remind you here. I exposed this guy. And I had several entries on this. The first entry was, I think, January 2019. I posted a quick audio discussing how I just saw this guy, Brian Kolfage. And let's see how he was defrauding people. And of course, soon after Brian Kolfage launched this GoFundMe, he got almost $18 million in donations. And I realized after seeing this, wait a second, you've got this guy who is taking a political position and he's trying to raise money for a political position. I knew right then that was a red flag. I knew right then he was trying to scam people. Think about this for a second. I actually made a video talking about in 2019. I said, wait a second, what if I make a video and come out and say, hey, I want to stop global warming, climate change. And I probably can't say on ScamTube that I probably cannot say that it doesn't exist because I'll be removed. Remember who's the chemist here. Remember who's the guy with the master's degree in chemistry from an Ivy League university. I probably have an idea whether or not this so-called climate change is legitimate. Let me remind those of you who may know this and need a reminder, or those who just are ignorant and don't know, there's two kinds of science in the world. There's two, chemistry and physics. The end. Everything else is basket weaving. Chemistry and physics are the disciplines that create, that, let's say, discover the ideal laws of science which govern the universe. Every other discipline, from biological sciences to medical sciences, what have you, engineering, they all utilize core scientific laws, principles that have been delineated, deciphered by our great chemists and physicists of the world. Now, if you didn't know that, you got a lot to learn. Okay? My point is that climate scientists are bogus. When I was in university, there was no such thing as a climate scientist. There were no departments of climatology. That was completely a government manufactured discipline to support the propaganda of the government. Anyway, sorry for that side note there. Let's move on. Getting back to Steve Bannon. Look at this bum. Wow. So I knew it was a scam when you had this guy and he's showing himself in a wheelchair with pictures in a wheelchair on his GoFraud.me. It's the typical, appeal. Feel sorry for me. I'm an honest guy. I'm a veteran. I care about America. Let's build a wall. You don't exploit things like this, folks. Okay, you just don't do that. It's a similar situation whereby a person claims they have a lot of money. Oh, I'm a billionaire. Oh, I'm a millionaire. If they're doing that, right then you should have a red flag that's been raised. Okay, or if the media is doing that for them, they're trying to ensure your confidence, and they're putting up superficial things that don't matter. Okay. So I knew Brian Kolfage was a scammer. I actually contacted him and I warned him that I'm going to be contacting the authorities, federal regulators, because I think he's a scammer. Okay. So, of course, Brian Kolfage build a wall. It turned out about 18 months later, about 18 months after that, when I warned him, it turns out that he was arrested. Steve Bannon was arrested for defrauding people with the GoFundMe. They were enriching themselves. You can look it all up. I'm not going to show you here. They were both arrested. Steve Bannon, in fact, was arrested on the yacht of Miles Kwok. So you can look at the details. But they were taking this money and they were spending it on a lavish lifestyle. Now, you might recall that Steve Bannon, who was convicted of this fraud, was set to go to prison, and he never went to prison. Why? Because Trump pardoned him. And folks, this kind of points to, by the way, if you're a Trump supporter, think about it. He's in bed with the scammer Bannon. Trump's in bed with a lot of bullshit. Now, this is not to say that Biden's any better. The point, folks, is that they've got you, the media's got you, taking sides back and forth, when the reality is that both sides lead you nowhere. That's the way America's democratic system has been designed. They distract you. They appeal to your sense of dignity, or in some cases indignity, to get you to align with their agenda. But the reality is, at the end of the day, the real issues that matter are not being addressed and are never going to be addressed, because you have a certain group, a certain mafia that runs the country, that runs these politicians. Okay? So what are the real issues? Obviously, the border is a significant issue. No doubt about that. But is that an end-all? No, it's not. If you put it into larger context, the border issue is significantly smaller than the issues of American jobs, of affordable, accessible health care. These are the two most important issues. Of course, I addressed those issues 17 years ago in the book that I wrote, America's Financial Apocalypse, the extended version, 2006, which also forecast and predicted accurately the financial crisis. I was banned, of course. They wouldn't publish the book because I exposed so many things, so many realities about America. From the free trade scam, which has destroyed middle-class America, to all the scams on Wall Street, legalized insider trading. I exposed all of that. I exposed many things. So my point is that I probably have an idea what's going on in America. I don't vote. It's a waste of time. America's democratic system is a fucking scam. It's a highly sophisticated operation to make you think that you've got a choice and your vote counts. The reality is that corporate America and the banks run Washington, and in addition to the Israeli lobby. Okay? That's fact. It's obvious. Nobody can refute that. It's that simple. And we're seeing more evidence of that now. Of course, the support for this ridiculous genocide that's going on in Palestine, and America keeps supporting it. They just sent $28 billion over to Israel to continue murdering people. Of course, for those of you who are younger, you may not realize this has been going on for decades. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. That's not what I'm meant to talk about today. But I'm trying to give you a bigger picture understanding of how everything is connected. Okay? And how it all works, the whole system. So you can see here, Chinese businessmen cheated thousands out of $1 billion. So let's take a closer look here. I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of the overview of the situation, as I've kind of been doing now, and then I'm going to go into more detail. Okay, because there's a lot of detail to cover. Now, just a note, I did not prepare for this other than posting video URLs and some article links. So this is not, I didn't prepare for this, so it may not be organized or whatever. I'm not going to prepare. I'm not like, well, wait a second. When is the detective, fake detective guy, CoffeeZilla, gonna unveil this? Folks, you understand what I'm talking about. These people that are promoted by the establishment, they're either useful idiots or they're gatekeepers. You understand that? You see, the idea is to promote useful idiots and people who are gatekeepers, or those who actually diminish or cause harm to the cause for which they are trying or claiming to promote. You understand? That's who gets promoted out there. You see, that's who gets promoted. Whether it's social media, mainstream media, alternative media, it's all the same. And people don't even realize it's all the same. You all think, oh, no. Sorry, folks. It's all the same. They all have a different twist. It's marketing. They're appealing to different demographics. You know why? Because it's all about the ad-based content. It's all about who you're selling to. It's all about money. You got it? Let's move on to Miles Kwok here. Now, Miles Kwok was arrested about a year ago, and you may have heard of him from several interviews he gave. He was aligned with Kyle Bass. He was aligned with Steve Bannon, as I mentioned. He was aligned with Raoul Paul. I mean, that right there told me there was something not right with the guy. And so you may have seen some videos on him. Maybe. And by the way, I'm bringing this up because I felt compelled to do this stream because I just released a couple of videos on Kyle Bass, as you might note. If you don't know that, take a look. I did a 2-part series on Kyle Bass recently. And I talked about this Miles Kwok. I talked about how I was not, and this video was made, by the way, a while back. So this all is related because this Hong Kong short that Bass was involved in, this fund that he set up to short the Hong Kong dollar, was funded primarily by Miles Kwok. You see, the $100 million, I think it was it $100 million? I can't remember, or $30 million. Whatever amount that was funding this short bet came from Miles Kwok. And it turns out that Miles Kwok obtained that money through fraud. And when they found that out, the regulators found that out, well, there was a problem with Miles Kwok. I don't know that he was arrested at that point, but interestingly, nothing happened to Kyle Bass. Now think about that for a second. What happened to know your customer, right? How are you using illicit proceeds in your investment fund? Nothing is going to happen to you? That's more than odd, by the way, folks. Okay? So you might want to review these videos. And here's one of the videos, Kyle Bass.
Sir, this is why I give you the answer.
And this is a real vision. Raoul Pal, this guy is a fraud. Raoul Pal, my name is Mike Stathis. You are a fraud. You are a pathological liar and a scam artist. Stop your scamming. Raoul Pal has claimed he's claimed that he predicted a financial crisis many times. He's told the media when he gets them to interview him, and the media claims that he's predicted because he told them that. There's no evidence. He didn't do it. It's a fucking lie. I've been going over people who have been lying about this. Folks, this is absolute fraud. They are making false claims in order to make money. Oh, he predicted the financial crisis. Oh, I'm going to subscribe to his research, right? That's fraud. Raoul Pal, you're a piece of shit. And what's going on now? This guy's, folks, look into this guy. Raoul Pal is an investment disaster. That's right. He's an investment disaster. Oh, well, I worked at Goldman Sachs and He's a fucking loser. He was a salesman at Goldman Sachs. He's a failed hedge fund manager, and you'll see that here shortly. The guy is a total fraud and a scam artist, and he promotes frauds and scam artists. This is a great example of that. He promoted this whole Miles Kwok narrative. Many videos on him featuring Kyle Bass. Of course, Kyle Bass never, I don't think he ever told anybody that he was short the Hong Kong dollar when he was interviewing Miles Kwok and releasing all this propaganda. It seems like Kyle Bass didn't learn his lesson a few years ago when he went online and was posting anonymous material on a real estate investment trust because he had a short interest. He was short on the stock. Of course, Kyle got busted for that. Anyway, folks, I'm telling you this because these things tell you about who you're dealing with, okay? Who you're dealing with. So, you can just search for the guy. Look at all the videos here. Many of them are from Real Vision. And so, go ahead and hear the
exiled Chinese businessman Guo Wengui was charged on Wednesday with leading a complex conspiracy to defraud his online followers out of more than $1 billion. According to authorities, Guo, with help from his longtime financial advisor Qinming Jie, cheated thousands by promising outsized investment returns, but diverted much of their money to fund lavish lifestyles for himself and his family. A prominent critic of China's Communist Party, Guo left the country in 2014 during an anti-corruption crackdown under President Xi Jinping. He was accused there of crimes including bribery and money laundering, but has denied wrongdoing. In the U.S., Guo has been a business associate of Steve Bannon, a former advisor to Donald Trump. Bannon was arrested in a fraud case in August 2020 while aboard Guo's yacht, the Lady May. He was later pardoned by Trump in the final hours of his presidency. Guo, who was arrested on Wednesday, faces 11 criminal counts that include securities fraud, wire fraud, and concealment of money laundering, carrying several decades of potential prison time. Following the arrest, a fire broke out on the 18th floor of the Sherry Netherland Hotel, where Guo has an apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side. There were no reported injuries. On Thursday afternoon, Guo pleaded not guilty and is being detained without bail. A lawyer for Guo did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
And so this is a great example of the whole lifestyle. This guy was telling you, oh, look at my mansion. I've got this. I've got all this money. I've got a $4 million Ferrari. Folks, wealthy people don't do that unless they obtain their money through fraud. Wealthy people don't try and tell you how much money they have. People that do that may have money, or may not. They do that because they want to give you this perception, right? And in fact, very few wealthy individuals who made their money relatively honestly, and I say relatively because there's not a whole lot of people that make money honestly if they've got a lot. I can tell you that right now. So I'm saying if they, it's not some illicit drug trade or something like that. They made their money and they're very wealthy. Very few people actually waste money on exotic cars. I can tell you that right now. Okay, at least in the Western world. Now, other parts of the world, Asia, that's different. But then you have to ask yourself, what is it honest? The money that they're making? It's a whole other topic of discussion. So I knew there was something up when this guy is bragging about the money that he had. Because wealthy individuals, folks, you got to understand something. Wealthy individuals, if you're a billionaire, you're not coming out and showing people how much wealth you have and this and that. You don't want to be a target. You don't want to be a target for kidnapping. You don't want to be a target for lawsuits. Okay? Because when people find out when you have a lot of money, the lawsuits, believe me, they start coming. They're not even valid. Okay? So I'm just telling you, I know this. And by the way, keep in mind, I've advised billionaires and multi-billion-dollar funds. If you don't know who I am, then you can take a look at the description under some of the videos, and you'll see. So I knew this guy. There was something up from the beginning when he was touting all of his wealth. South China Morning Post, FYI, it may come into handy to know this in the future. Keep in mind, South China Morning Post is owned by Alibaba, FYI. You know, the bullshit scammy company that I warned everybody it was very risky to stay out of it for the longest time, including a couple of years ago when the great late investor Charlie Munger was telling everybody it's a great deal, and all these YouTube fucking losers were telling everyone, I'm going to buy it, yeah, because Charlie Munger. And I came out and said, that's bullshit. People say, oh, who are you? Oh, yeah, well, looks like I'm the big swinging dick, okay? Oh, who are you? Folks, if you listen to anybody on YouTube for anything in terms of investments, finance, you're a dummy. There's nobody on YouTube with a channel that's qualified to give you good information. They're all fucking scammers trying to milk the algorithm, selling ads for scam artists, selling their courses. They're all frauds. Write it down. Okay? And let me just mention, by the way, as we're talking about that, remember, everybody who's selling trading alerts, trading chat room, telling you you can trade for a living and make a lot of money, whether it's penny stocks, Forex, or what have you, day trading, they're scammers. Every single fucking one of them. You write it down. If you don't believe me, I want you to do a couple of things. First of all, take a good look at who I am, my track record, my credentials, okay? And then what you do, if you still don't believe me, you go to your favorite trading guru who you think is legit, and you tell them to come up against me. You tell them to show me their shit. Tell them they can pass my vetting mechanism. They can't do it. They won't do it. In fact, there's a person who shall remain nameless. I'm not going to mention the person's name, who I had actually talked to for some other things. And nice person. He runs a trading service. He issues out alerts. And I said, hey, you know what? At some point later on, I reached out to him and said, you know what? You want me to, to review your system? Because he's making all these claims. I was going to do it for free. Take the time. And guess what? He didn't want to do it. After him knowing who I am, my track record, he didn't want to do it. And that tells me he's a fraud. Okay? That tells me he's a fraud. Anybody out there, okay? You claim all this stuff, trading is bullshit. They're fucking liars, folks. And the thing is, they'll never go up against a Wall Street insider like me. They're counting on dipshits. Okay, all of them are frauds and scammers. They all have different means and mechanisms of scamming people and deceiving people. I'm telling you right now. And you all should spread the fucking word. Spread the fucking word. Don't be a weak snowflake, millennial, Gen Z loser. Do something. You may have seen this video.
习主席个人呐，这个讲的话给摘录出来，进行无限扩大。谢谢宝贝。
So his whole thing is, look, I'm rich. I got out of China. It's corrupt. Communist government is terrible. I want to take it down. And he claimed he had this YouTube channel. I looked for it. I don't know if it's still there. Maybe it's gone. He had, a lot of followers, and he would have these broadcasts in Chinese, I guess Mandarin. And he claimed, I'm going to expose China and all this. And in reality, apparently what was going on is he was pitching a bunch of scams. I'm sure, he was ranting about the CCP, but he was using this really, it wasn't about, unveiling the mask behind the CCP. It was about scamming people. In this video, you can see.
Hi, Michael Moynihan. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Where are you?
Thank you. It's a nice apartment.
Yes.
Is it okay if I look around?
Yeah.
You show me around a little bit?
Yes, okay, no problem.
This isn't exactly what you'd think exile looks like. But there's nothing run-of-the-mill about fugitive billionaire Kwok the real estate tycoon who goes by the English name Miles, has spent the last 2 years holed up 18 stories above New York's Central Park.
So this is part of his whole grift, right? Look, I'm rich, right? The Tai Lopez thing. Now, I don't know where he got the money. Well, actually, I do know where he got the money. So he's supposed to be a real estate tycoon. Now, anybody understand how real estate works in China? Let me explain something. Here's how you become a real estate tycoon in China. Now, just as a reminder, this is from somebody who's been researching China for the better part of 20 years. I know China very well, and I cover it in the research. So in China, you've got developers, but you can't just be anybody to become a developer. So what's so great about being a developer, real estate developer in China? Well, guess what? The Chinese people use real estate as their primary means of investment. Okay? That's why you had all these ghost cities, these ghost buildings, all this stuff. Many Chinese that buy second and third and fourth properties never intend to live there. And in fact, many of them don't never even care to rent it out. They're buying, waiting for the next sucker to pay a higher price. It's called the greater fool's theory in economics. Look it up. This was going on for a long time in China, and of course, the house of cards now has come down. But the point is that the Chinese government has always been and continues to be to emphasize real estate development because it's vital to the Chinese economy. Absolutely vital. It's not only more than 30% of the GDP typically, and I would say it's probably, if you count everything, it's probably closer to 40%. And when I say everything, there are some indirect things I'm not going to get into, but it's certainly more than 30%, probably directly close to 35%. And the reason why they emphasize real estate, the CCP, is because that's where most of the taxes come from in terms of the local government. Anywhere from 50 to 60% on average of every single apartment unit in China, the price of that apartment unit, 50 to 60%, is due to the land lease contract. In other words, the local government is getting 50 to 60% of that price. So it's actually a huge hidden tax on the Chinese people, which they don't even realize. That's how the local governments primarily fund their budgets. And as you can imagine, that's why China is completely collapsing now. Okay? So my point is this. anybody who can weasel their way with the CCP to become a major developer they're going to make a lot of money, right? They're going to make a lot of money. The question is, how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of corruption in China, a lot of fraud. You're going to be bribing officials. You're going to be bribing officials. So that's how you become a real estate tycoon, not only in China, but many other countries in Asia, actually, depending upon the country. You bribe officials. Why? Well, it's not an open system. It's not a free market system. Think about who runs the banks, right? If you're a developer, well, you need to have good graces with the Chinese government, because when the Chinese want to borrow money to pay for a pre-sale real estate project, well, think about it. Are they going to allow loans for this project under this guy who hasn't paid the officials? You understand. So the main point is that this guy got his money through fraud. There's no doubt about that. If you're in the Chinese real estate market, okay, as a developer, you obtained your money through corruption. There's no doubt about it. That's just the way it works in China. It's kind of a normal part of the system. Okay. There's a story I've told a few years ago, actually, about a Chinese banker I met. I'm not going to tell the full story. I'll just tell it quickly here. I met this Chinese banker, and we were talking pretty good English, actually, and he was telling me how he spent, I think, $12 million for his condo, which was about, I don't know, maybe 2,000 square feet. Okay, and I was amazed. I was first of all, I said, well, I was like, how is this possible? Now, this was in Shanghai, and he basically told me that he spend that if you want your kids to go to a good school, you got to buy the expensive property. And my second question to him was, wow, how do I become a banker in China? Jokingly, of course. I'm thinking to myself, I'm wondering, how can this person afford? Now, of course, he was helped out by his parents, which is typical. It's common in Asia, especially in China. They gave him some amount of money. But clearly, he was making a lot of money as a banker. We're not talking about, on the stock exchange or anything like that. We're talking about as a banker. That's when I began to open my eyes. This was several years ago, as to the shenanigans going on in the Chinese economy, and specifically in the banking and real estate industries. And as it turns out, upon doing research into that later on, I found out that you were dealing with a lot of fraud and a lot of things that I'm not going to get into here. So,
the first time I can remember hearing about Kwok was back in August of 2020. That's when Steve Bannon, do you remember this? He was arrested on federal fraud charges. He was accused of using money donated to an organization he was part of called Build the Wall at the southern border to line his own pockets. And the people that arrested Bannon were U.S. Postal Service inspectors on the yacht of a Chinese billionaire off the coast of Connecticut. Struck me as kind of odd at the time. Well, the Chinese billionaire who owned the yacht is known as Kwok. He made his fortune in Chinese real estate, but fled China in 2014 when he was accused of bribery and embezzlement.
And by the way, that Kwok, whatever is his Western name, he goes by Miles Kwok, Kwok. But the point is, folks, there's several learning points here. First of all, as I've been talking about over and over again for years upon years upon years, you're judged by the company you keep. Birds of a feather always flock together. I'm telling you right now. You can see that on ScamTube. You can see it everywhere. Okay? Steve Bannon is aligned with this guy. Kyle Bass is aligned with both these guys. Raoul Pal as well. Right? You understand what I'm saying? And, it's interesting that he left China in 2014. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that's when Xi Jinping became the leader of China. And he began this campaign of cracking down on fraud and corruption, you see. So I think it's pretty clear what went on here, Miles Kwok realized he was going to get caught, and he got the fuck out of China. Now, a lot of people, I think, were fooled by this guy because some of the things he says are not only believable, but kind of reinforce what we've been told about China. And I will admit, some of the things that he says, many of the things that he says are true. But that doesn't mean that he's not a fraud. That doesn't mean that he's credible. Okay? And I could tell that early on. But once again, once I saw this guy being promoted by Raoul Pal on Real Vision, I knew there was something up. Because Raoul Pal's an absolute fraud and scam artist. And he's caused people to lose massive amounts of money through all this crypto. This is a guy, Raoul Pal, who wants to tell you that, oh, well, yes, we cater to institutional investors and this. Yet he's pitching cryptocurrencies. Not only that, he's made so many bad calls on cryptocurrencies. He was shilling cryptocurrencies. He was shilling Terra Luna, telling everyone, oh, yeah, I've got a massive position. It's great. Right before it collapsed. Right before it collapsed. Go ahead and take a look. Research this guy. Research and see what a fucking disaster he is. Okay? Complete idiot, fraud, liar, Raoul Pal. And I mention that because Raoul Pal is one of the kingpins of the scammers. He's promoting a lot of scammers. Okay? No legitimate investment professional is ever going to promote cryptocurrencies. It's just a fact. Write it down. If they're promoting cryptocurrencies, they're not a legitimate investment professional. That's a fact. Here you go. Raoul Pal claims he never owned or understood Terra. Here's what he said 6 months ago. Yet, you see that? These guys were pumping cryptocurrency Ponzi schemes. Raoul Pal was promoting all of these Ponzi scheme yield-bearing cryptos. And then he claims he doesn't know it. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't invest in it. What a fucking fraud. And you're going to see this many times over, folks. People you can't forget. Don't ever forget. Mark Cuban, scam artist, crypto fraud. Kevin O'Leary, scam artist, crypto fraud. Why is everyone forgetting? These guys are still, every day they're in the media. Oh, yeah, Mark Cuban is a great investor. Oh, yeah, sure he is. No, he's a fucking loser and a scammer. These people, you understand, take a close look at who they are, their background, their ethnicity, and you'll understand why they're getting promoted and not criticized. It's a common theme I've observed for many years in every industry. Tucker Carlson, another fraud, bullshit artist. And, of course, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan. I've talked about this many times, folks. In fact, take a look at this. I found this. This is funny. Take a look at this one. Alex Jones. Deep State. Folks, whenever anybody that mentions something like a fucking phantom, the deep state, the elites, anybody that uses that type of approach is a fucking scammer or an idiot. Okay? They're using phantoms like, okay, deep state, they could be anybody. Like, who is it? The elites. Okay, tell us who the fucking elites are. Give me some examples. What's the deep state? Give me some examples. You understand? That's all hocus fucking pocus when they're doing that. I hope you all know that. So read this. Deep state may use tactical nuclear weapon to kill Trump, Elon Musk, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan to be hit next. Yeah, because they're patriots. They're truth tellers. Are you kidding me? They don't want anything to happen to Elon Musk, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Joe. These are gatekeepers of the establishment. You all know that, right? Anyway. So, folks, that's the situation. Okay, that's the situation. Let's get into more detail. Let's take a look now at Real Vision and Raoul Pal. So Raoul Pal, he wants to make all these false claims. He wants to sell you his research for up to $7,000 a year. Now, he also has a program for $20,000 a year. I haven't had a chance to do this, but Brian Rose, he's got a great deal for you. His research for $50,000 a year. I mean, these guys are total frauds. But here's the scam. Free. Yeah, this is where they suck you in, get your email, and they use mind control tactics on you to eventually get you to pay them money. Okay? They want to edge you in. I want more, right? And you get nothing. You will lose your ass. Folks, these guys are fraudsters. Anybody promoting cryptocurrencies is a scammer. What else we got? Well, here's this is how actually the story that Raoul Pal wrote a year and a half ago, I guess. He wants to tell you kind of his history. And you can see here, he even admits that, and take a look. To be honest, my last year at GLG in 2004 was a pretty crappy year for me. He's basically telling you he lost his job. He wants to tell you he was a hedge fund manager there. Why do you think his last year was crappy for him? I don't know what his role was, but I can almost guarantee you he wasn't like the hedge fund manager. He was doing something else. He was involved in something. Okay? But nonetheless, clearly he lost his job. What happened? Well, he started a newsletter. Think about that. So from that, and he wants to tell you how all this nonsense, name dropping and all this bullshit. Okay? It's a guy who claims he predicted the financial crisis. He did not. It's a fucking fraud. He's a fraud and a liar. Let's listen to this.
ProMacro is the premium macro research service we have at Real Vision. And it's something special because it's not just myself and my colleagues at Global Macro Investor like Julian Bittel.
Yourself and your colleagues are fucking scammers.
And David Matten. In addition, it's the incredible team at MI2 Partners, Julian Brigden. And we're both very different people. We approach the world, different time horizons, different ways.
You notice how he meant MI2. Wow, is it like MI3? Wow, it's secret. Insiders. Oh gosh, I want it. How much? How do I pay? Oh yeah. Fucking scammer. Fake it till you make it, folks. Selling the lifestyle. Look at my house bar that I have in the Cayman Islands. Why do you think he's fucking hiding out in the Cayman Islands, by the way? There's no jurisdiction. Why do you think all these cryptocurrencies are out in the Cayman Islands, the Bahamas? You understand. The Cayman is the ultimate place for protection from any type of lawsuit. Okay? Think about it. Why would you? It's one thing to be headquartered there. Right, you're legally domiciled there. A lot of hedge funds and so forth, they're legally domiciled in the Cayman Islands, but they're not based there. Why? There's nothing to fucking do there. Like, what are you going to do in the Cayman Islands? Nobody there, right? So why is this guy there? You understand? Maybe the same reason why, Jeff Berwick is hiding out in Acapulco, where he's protected from lawsuits. Same thing with Doug Casey in Argentina. I've exposed all this shit for years, how these guys operate. And I've actually inquired numerous times with this Raoul Pal, his little global macro, requesting evidence that he predicted the financial crisis, and I've gotten nothing. Nothing. He's a fraud. He's a liar. And these people, folks, you have to understand, he has buddies. His buddies that run the media, they're going to promote him, and they're going to say whatever he tells them. This is the problem that we face. This is the problem that you all face. This is why you all have been getting so much bad information over the years, because they're promoting a bunch of scammers and liars and broken clocks. And they're doing that to create dumb money, so that them and their friends can benefit, and also to increase the amount of money they can charge for advertisements. Because if you listen to these guys, you're going to need help. And Merrill Lynch is going to advertise there. And they're going to pay a lot of money for those advertisements because they know there's a lot of people that need help. Got it? And then the question becomes, well, if we just need a broken clock, a scammer, or an idiot, we can find anybody. But they actually decide to discriminate against everybody else, and they promote their own. And that's why these people are constantly promoted out there. And it's not just the mainstream media, it's everywhere. Okay. And once again, if you think that as much as I've torn down the financial media, if you think that YouTube is better, YouTube is 1 billion times worse. 1 billion times worse. Okay? I can tell you that right now. It basically works a similar way, but it's 1 billion times worse. Got another one here. This is good.
Hi, I'm Raoul Powell, the CEO and publisher of the Global Macro Investor. Global Macro Investor is where I do all of my own deep thinking. It's my premium research service, really for institutional investors, family offices, sovereign wealth.
Folks, this guy is a scammer and a fraud, and I challenge you. And by the way, what he's doing now, there's zero transparency. There's nothing posted anywhere in terms of his calls. The only way you're going to get his calls is for people who have gotten his crypto or whatever investment. He doesn't post anything anyway. This guy runs like alert services, trading services, okay? Anybody, and this you can write this down, anyone who's running an alert service, a trading service where they're sending out buy, sell, the first thing that you need to look for is a third-party audited track record of all the results. You understand that, right? You all understand. If they're not showing that, they're a scammer. It's that simple. And that's why you don't see that. Now, you do see some people that are, because I've come across it too. Someone say, oh, yeah, I've got it audited. No, it's not. They're fooling you guys. Okay? They're telling you, buy this now. Sell this now. You understand? Anyone who's running any type of alert service like that must absolutely show a third-party audited track record of all their results. If they don't do that, they're fraud. They're hiding. In fact, you all might recall, exposed these guys, this Kabasi letter. It's Kabasi. And then he's related to all these guys. Okay, some little fucking kid. And he's got a big following on Twitter because he's aligned with all these fucking conspiracy wackos. He won't post. He's telling you he's had all these gains. Oh, I'm 100%. I said, show me your trades. Show it. Oh, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I can't do it. He's a fraud. I did an 8-part series on him on my website. Complete fucking fraud. And he's getting promoted by Fox Business. By Neil Cavuto, the fucking scam artist piece of shit, by the way. You understand what I'm saying, folks? This is how these guys build their business. They're in with the media. You understand? They promote them. The suckers give them their business. Okay, this is fucking fraud. This is what's going on. Okay? It's been going on for a long time. Explains why you see all these fucking losers in the media. And who do you think listen to these guys? The YouTubers. The YouTubers listen to Peter Schiff, Harry Dent, Kathy Wood, Jim Cramer, Josh Brown, Barry Ritholtz. You understand? You got it? And who do you think anybody else knows what I'm telling you in the world? Nobody fucking knows this stuff. Nobody. I've spent much of my life, my career in this, charging nothing, doing it for fucking free, when I spend more time on this than my research. I could be spending this time generating more research, more content, more this and that, to make a lot of money. And I haven't done it. And I'm banned. I'm banned. Nobody wants to talk to me. Why is that? Why is that? Because they're all frauds, folks. You think it's kind of like, Donald Trump, I believe him, versus Biden. Don't ever think in relative terms when you're talking about people and the truth. It's not relative. There's no relative fucking truth. There's absolute truth or there's a fucking lie. You got it? That's how it works. There's absolute truth or there's a lie. There's no relative, well, he's telling more, he seems more honest. No. You see it. You understand what's going on.